hard for them to find a source for what to do with it. So some kind of accommodation, I know a lot of the folks in Leland that I've talked with would even be willing to have a site for businesses on their property that could be used.
That'd be
So
great to
I think I
explore
told
for
a few of them to
businesses,
contact
right,
folks.
right.
I
We
have a
really
question.
are exploring the Lake Leland, closing the Lake Leland site. Before that, it took a long time to find that one. If any of you know anybody who'd be willing to have it on their property, where, you know, we
What about
pay rent.
interiors, like Leland are excavating? I thought they were in the mix.
No. No, we're really having trouble finding.
I would
a site.
suggest, yeah, go, you can look through the minutes of the Solid Waste Council, and we talk about it every month, and we're always looking for that next site, because we had a nice one there, but the Montessori school moved into there, and that just didn't work well with having kids and lots of cars and traffic and things
The
like that.
best sites are either township or county properties.
Yeah, like right here. What about the
Yeah.
They said no.
They said no. What? They didn't want it here. But, you know, I'm a real advocate for political action. If you want it somewhere, people really listen to the citizens when they say, we no longer have a site, this is a perfect site, how about putting it here? I think that's where citizen involvement has a real effect. So was there a question back here? Oh, Patricia, you had a question?
Yes. I just got the answer from this man, but I understand there's others that have the same question. The caps on things like milk cartons that we know are recyclable and some other number 2 products, but they don't say on the cap lid, they don't have a number, so you don't know if they're recyclable. Are
Yep.
they?
So they are, they're polypropylene, they're number 5 plastic.
So we can assume that.
You can assume it, but the best thing to do is to leave the cap, after you crunch that plastic milk carton back up, so you can fit it in your recycling bin, then put the cap back on it, because where that best gets recycled is when all of those milk jugs with those caps on it make their way to the recycler who takes the number 2 plastic, they pull that number 5 plastic, plus that little ring. You don't have to clip that ring off. That all happens through automation at the facilities that recycle that material. That's polypropylene, the little ring in the cap on the milk jug.
Thank you.
In the back, on the bark table is a list of the current things you can recycle and you cannot. So I think this is helpful.
Yep, we've got that. And on the back there's also a sign-up sheet for the BARC newsletter. It's just an email once a month. And especially people in this group, I wanted to reach out to you because you took the time today to learn a little bit more about recycling and to show support to the League of Women Voters here. And we are developing a steering committee here in Leelanau County, a layer underneath the Solid Waste Council for advocates in the community to help with these changes, whether it's education or whether we're going to try to bring composting to Leelanau County, which Bayer Recycling, the county's been pursuing for a while. And there's composting already happening up at different locations like Barry Kroll's farm up there in Maple City. So there's all kinds of different things that are happening, and I think the best thing to do is just start bringing people together in that community format and start developing small committees to help make the phone calls and get the action to start putting things together here in this county.
Yes.
Yes, Kelly.
Can you speak a little bit about what Glen Lake Kids did?
Oh, just one second.
You should speak about that. You know the story better than I do, and it's a great story. You have something real quick?
We just have one question back there. First.
Yes.
American Waste, we have a bin out in front of our house.
Okay.
Is everything that we put in there, does that go to where they recycle, they take out the recyclables?
So that's a great question. You talk about your trash bin, correct?
Right.
Yep. So the only thing that American Waste is recycling is the material that gets picked up at the county drop-off sites.
Okay.
So when they started their facility in Traverse City, they were trying to run it as what's called a dirty MRF. Does everyone remember what a MRF is? Nice. Material recycling facility. A dirty MRF is one you run garbage over and you pull the recycling out of it. And I think that they had some troubles trying to get that to work because of odors and things like that. And so that hasn't happened for quite some time. So it's never, I don't think it's ever a good idea to make,
Don't
your
mix
garbage stream your recycling
Don't
stream.
make some,
Because there's so much contamination that happens from food waste and things getting on the recyclables. But yeah, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
So, Kelly, can you come up for a sec? Oh, you got your own microphone.
I'm right in my little corner.
So here's a great story, and it shows you some community advocacy and some action things. And Kelly's got some amazing kids that have kind of got things started over at Glen Lake School, so I'm gonna let you just talk about it.
Okay, so a few years ago, the Students for World Awareness came up with an idea. They wanted to create a waste-free lunchroom at Glen Lake, and so they worked with Andy's guy Jordan to come up with how to do it, and he guided them on what they had to do. And so the kids spearheaded it. They did it themselves. They talked to the school board and to the principal, superintendent. And they had to stand at the waste stream in the lunchroom every day and help people sort out their recycling, their compost, and their garbage. And they did it for a year, and they proved it to be beneficial to the school. And so in the end, the school adopted it, and the kids no longer had to run it, but now it's been instituted in the school. And so that's something that any school could do, and there's probably kids interested in all of our schools that would like to try that.
and Andy is trying to get commercial recycling going in Leelanau County. We've met with Cherry Republic and a few other places about trying to make their new public restaurant zero waste, setting up bins to do the same things that they do at Glen Lake, one for composting, one, instead of putting trash, he uses the word landfill right on the container. I thought that was so powerful because it really tells you that, well, trash could be anywhere. Landfill tells you exactly where it's going. So that's pretty exciting. If that goes at Cherry Republic, I think that will be the beginning of a pilot program for Leelanau County for commercial recycling. Composting, excuse me, yes.
Isn't Oriana sort of the model of that? Of how a restaurant can.
So Oriana, yeah, we do all the composting for Oriana. Bay Area Recycling for Charities does the composting for Oriana and Great Wolf Lodge and Grand Traverse Resort. And they've been a huge supporter of this organization from the very beginning, and they are a model to the community when it comes to their processes. They switched all their packaging over to compostable, so when you go in there and you buy a salad, if you take it home, you can compost it, but that plastic is difficult. The PLA plastics are difficult to do in a backyard pile. It has to be done through a commercial.
It doesn't get hot enough.
But they put a commercial bin out in the back, so you can bring it back there, and it'll come to us, and it'll go to a commercial facility to get composted. And then when it comes to everything else, I mean, they're just a model organization for the community down there. So they do a great job, Oriana. So whatever we can do to support them. Yes?
Is there anything going on in Michigan to propose a shopping bag ban?
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I just read something else that said, okay, I think it's New York or California has banned plastic bags, and we're all excited about that. It speaks to how complex things are. So instead of those plastic bags, people are buying small Glad bags, and using those, which are much more difficult to recycle than the old plastic bags. So the point was, be careful what you wish for, and that before states begin to ban that, they have to think about the alternatives. I mean, I used to always take paper bags before I brought my recycling bags. And they say, paper bags are even worse for the environment than a plastic bag. So I think we need to get the science straight on this first. Because it requires the manufacturing process. The manufacturing process of making the paper bags paper bags are worse. So, you think you're doing the right thing. You say, oh yeah, let's ban those. Chicago has banned theirs, but this is what they're finding. So again, the science has to lead us. We've taken more time than we should have.
Well, she said 1:15, is that okay? So, there's a question here, yes?
Is there another source of these?
Is there another source of that paper you're holding? We're out back here.
Yes, right upstairs in the planning department's room, there's one, right up on the thing there. Well, no, there's a whole bunch, there's one section where they have it.
Could you pass it around?
One more question, how's that?
From homes, because like I have huge electronic things that I can't get to the.
Absolutely. So you can go to the Bay Area Recycling for Charities website and you can look on there under services. You can schedule a special pickup and it'll show you all the different things we can pick up there. Mattresses. We recycle about 20,000 mattresses a year. Yeah. And then 1 million pounds of electronics. And so we pick up TV sets and mattresses and things like that. We'll even have help if you need us to go inside the home to get it. We just need to know to what level you need the help. So I wanted to say thank you for everybody to join us today and taking the time out, and we enjoyed ourselves. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I want to say thank you to Tricia and her team for the League of Women Voters for all of the effort and energy that everyone's been putting towards this. And I'm going to stick around afterwards. I know there's a lot of people that still might have had questions, and I'm just going to hang out back here for a while. So if you have other questions, you want to talk some more, I'll hang out for a little while and we'll do that. Does that sound good?
And before you go, it's been said by Pete Seeger, if it can't be reduced, reused, repaired, rebuilt, refurbished, refinished, resold, recycled, or composted, it should be restricted, redesigned, or removed from production. And we want to thank you very much, Marcia and Andy, for giving us all kinds of details and suggestions and ideas. And we're all ready to go. We want to thank all of you, partners, in making solutions for these issues. We thank our committee for their efforts and my co-chairman, Doug McGinnis. And that reminds me of a little bitty story. I'm going to just throw this little story in. It's a story about a hummingbird and a fire. And you may have heard this before, but it seems there was a really, really big, huge forest fire. And all the animals stood around the side of the fire, very sad, lamenting the horror of all this thing. We're losing this forest. This little hummingbird says, well, I'm going to do something about this. So the hummingbird flies off to the little pond or a little stream, grabs a drop of water, flies, drops it on the fire. And of course the animals all say, you're too small, your wings are too small, you're too little, whatever can you do? That won't do any good. Well, the little hummingbird said, I'll do the best I can.
So we're going to allow you about 15 more minutes if you want. If there's a booth you haven't got to hit yet, please circulate around the room and do that. We're going to meet back here at 1:30 for a short member meeting. Thank you again, everyone.